And I guess, as you mentioned, someone mentioned the Google second opinion is important as well, and getting that information, but trying to work out what's good information versus not so good information.
And again, if I could just come back to the Cancer Council helpline, that's often another sort of good independent starting point for some advice about how to get that second opinion.
Okay.
A comment about the internet. The internet is a really wonderful resource, but it can be hard to synthesise and work out which is a valuable site and which isn't. And a number of the cancer organisations will actually steer you to good sites, so they don't say don't go and look, but look, these are the ones that we know are putting up really credible advice. So it's often a good point to start is actually with the state cancer organisations who'll have links through to other very useful and informative sites.
That's very good advice. James?
The next question is, I'm under a lot of pressure from some family and friends to try natural therapies instead of standard chemotherapy. What are your thoughts on this?
Okay. Craig first. GP Craig.
Yeah.
And the specialist Craig.
Yeah. I think this is a sort of question that often gets put to me. And I think one of the roles that I can play is to help a person to ask the questions they might need to ask of their oncologist so that they can have a conversation with them about the role of chemo, to be clear in their own minds about the evidence for this particular cancer at this particular stage. What's the evidence on outcomes? Is it a marginal thing? Is it a significant difference that one can expect? And then the person themselves at the end of the day needs to weigh that up. A second opinion, if you're not happy or not clear in your own mind, I think see somebody until you are clear in your own mind. I think as pretty much a rule of thumb, it's useful not to look out on natural treatments instead of effective cancer care when the evidence is quite clear that conventional treatment is going to be helpful. If it's really marginal or if there isn't clear evidence of benefit, well then that might be a different sort of situation. But where there is clear evidence, I think there's obviously a caution about people seeing it as an either or. Mostly, and that's what I meant with talking about integrative medicine, is that we're talking about an integrated approach using the best of everything, not an alternative system that it has to be one or the other. And the great majority of people with cancer are looking at an integrated approach rather than looking for alternative care. And so there's certainly some conversations to have and some questions to ask about that.
Thanks, Craig.
I just wanted to pick up, I guess, on the instead of, which you've already covered. I mean, I think it's a matter of trying to use them as well as rather than instead of. But I would have the same questions of the people promoting the complementary medicine as you have of your specialists. You know, what's the level of benefit? What are the possible side effects? What's known about it? What the cost is going to be? So people often turn up, to see their conventional health practitioner with a healthy level of scepticism or wanting to be convinced about a benefit of the treatment. So I think we should, adopt a similar approach when people are offering us various, treatments, alternative treatments or complementary treatments for their cancer.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
Did you have a comment, Louise?
Yes, because I ran a cancer support group in my local hospital for 16 years, and one of the things I noticed was that when people have a diagnosis of cancer, they get swamped with ideas and information. People give them books, people give them information, and the carers will pick up some information in the person with cancer, and it creates this kind of seething mass of, who knows what and what's right and so on. And carers can be unwittingly led, I think, into saying to the person, if only you drink your carrot juice, if only you do this or if only you do that, and it creates those bumpy things in the relationship. And sometimes I think there's maybe a case for some intervention from a counsellor or a social worker even, who might be able to allay the concerns of the carers who feel helpless anyway and are trying to come up with good ideas. But if the patient doesn't want to do those things, then it's really their call.
Sometimes it's this extraordinary pressure, isn't it, to try and do everything.
Yeah.
And so then the cancer becomes this consuming thing. Instead of, living with cancer, we're consumed by it.
Yeah.
And it's very difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I just spin off from there and just talk about something you said? You spoke, Graham, to your friends and you're open about it because you're in the public eye. There are obviously carers who get inundated with phone calls on help and information. But I know when we had to look after my dying father-in-law, there were some people who stopped ringing us. Did you find that? We found that quite painful.
I think it's their problem, basically. Yeah. They're having trouble coming to terms with it. It's like when there's a death with someone who you sort of know, confronting the surviving relatives can be quite painful, when what you really should be doing is going right up and offering your condolences and any support you can give. It's the same with a cancer sufferer, and that's where I found incredible support. The people were very open in their support for me, and you do draw incredible strength from that. If there are some of those that turn away from you, it's almost like a rejection. So I think everyone in the community has a responsibility to, if there's someone that they know close to them, even not all that close, that is a cancer sufferer, just don't turn your back on them. If you've had some level of relationship with it, that should be maintained. Unless the person suffering says, please give me space, you know. You must respect their wishes.
Yes. Louise, any comments on that?
Yes, I think that's the other side of it, that some people withdraw into themselves, and so it can be difficult for maybe extended family or neighbours and friends to know, is it okay to talk about it? You know, what should I say? And sometimes it's actually not about saying anything. It's just about coming in and saying, you know, well, talk about the footy or talk about something and just be there. Or don't talk about it. Yeah, but just show a willingness to be there in the presence of that person.
And that's often all it takes, isn't it? Just to not to suffer that rejection. James, another question.
This question is, will good nutrition and diet cure my cancer?
Okay. Craig.
I think sometimes this is some of the vexed thing. Oh, did this cause my cancer? Is this going to cure my cancer? And there are so many different things that are involved in the body coming down with cancer, and there are also, I think, so many things involved in the body defending itself against cancer. Now, we often look at managing cancer as just doing what we can do to the cancer. Now, if the body didn't have an enormous number of defences against cancer, we wouldn't see the year out, let alone, 80 years. So working both with the body itself and also doing what we can do with the cancer is an important approach. So there are things that can help to shift the balance one way or the other, for better or for worse, and finding the things that can help. So healthy nutrition is going to, it seems increasingly obvious that it makes a significant contribution in all sorts of ways, some of which we understand, in many ways we don't understand, in helping the body to deal with the cancer, to provide the chemicals it needs to deal with it. Now, cure, who knows, there might be some people who have long-term survival that wouldn't have had long-term survival, or at least longer survival. There may be some people who don't die of cancer that would have died from cancer and something else gets them at another time. It may be that they just have better survival. So I'd be cautious with jumping in with words like cure and so on, because they can sometimes create an extreme sort of polarised sort of view. Oh, this is going to cure it, and or something else is going to cure it, where I think it's a much larger picture with many different factors playing a part, one of which is nutrition.
Okay, next question.
How much exercise is dangerous, and what would be the warning signs of over-exercise?
Rob.
Questions for me. Very few of us would ever get into that state, although, I would warn against taking up a very, very large amount of exercise. And we get a lot of bad press. We hear of Olympic athletes who break down, get all sorts of injuries and illnesses. But we have to understand that they are probably training for 6 to 8 hours every day, 7 days a week. And I think the recommendations that I provided in my presentation are relatively conservative, I think. And you working an hour, half to 1 hour per day, 6 days per week, you're not going to get into an overtraining situation. But I come back to my earlier comment that you don't want to injure yourself and to go in too hard. You will get muscle soreness and you will feel unwell. And it's a matter of taking this easy and starting out, as I said, it might just be walking to the front gate to get your mail. Send yourself a couple of extra letters so you make sure you get lots of mail. And send more letters each week. but gradually build up on that. And, we'd like to see you getting to a stage where you are physically active in either aerobic or resistance training exercise 6 days a week for around 30 minutes to an hour. And you've got very little risk of overexerting or to exacerbate your condition by that. Please always use your body as its own best indicator. Pain is a very good indication that something's not right. And if you are getting excessive muscle soreness or excessively out of breath, then you are overdoing it. You need to back off a little bit. And final comment is that if you have a qualified person, such as an exercise physiologist, who is monitoring you, that's a much safer situation to be in. And most people who do get injured or hurt is generally when they take it on themselves to do something at home, unregulated and unmonitored.
Graham, sometimes profession could affect your exercise. James and our other surgeons, they seem to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, run, get out of bed at, you're a newsreader. Did you say you went to the gym twice a day or twice a week?
Twice a week I'm going, which is remarkable for those who know me. For the first 55 years of my life, I did no exercise.
Right.
Sedentary job, did all things wrong, a couch potato. And unlike Craig, I'm more than happy with the football situation. My team, Adelaide, is playing this afternoon, so we're still in there.
Shame they're going to lose.
West Coast supporter, obviously. Exercise was not a priority for me, but since going through what I did, and I sort of thought, well, this can't be good. I've got to start getting my body in tune. And I have been going to the gym twice a week and doing a few other things too. I'll probably step that up to 3 times a week. Initially, it is very difficult. I mean, those first few steps, as Robert said, going to the letterbox the first couple of times is tough. But now I can go out there 2 or 3 times a day without even puffing. So we're getting there.
Do you get a letter every time?
Not always. So please keep those cards and letters coming in. But the rewards from the exercise are there to be had. You're not doing it and sort of saying, well, what's the point of this? After a short while, you say, hey, I'm feeling a lot better.